In 2012, RuneScape died. The game that defined our childhoods, the one we played on dial-up, was effectively erased and made into something unrecognizable. Players were rioting, the servers were emptying, and it looked like 11 years of history was gone for good. But today, against all odds, it's the strongest it's ever been. It all started in a kitchen in Cambridge in 2001. Three brothers, the Gowers, cooked up a Java game that ran on a dial-up internet and hope. And players actually played. And back then, they didn't care about efficiency or tick manipulation. We were all too busy trying to trim armor for unsuspecting noobs, or buying girlfriends for 10,000 GP in Lumbridge. It was the golden age of RuneScape. The world felt familiar, and the economy relied entirely on thousands of players spam typing until their fingers gave out, or used auto-typers. But it wasn't all good. First came the Falador Massacre in 2006, where a glitch turned Duriel321 into a god who slaughtered everyone. Then came 2007, when Jagex decided the best way to stop credit card fraud was to nuke free trade and the wilderness entirely. Players rioted, but we kept playing because, let's be honest, we were addicted. The real meteor hit in 2012, the evolution of combat. Jagex looked at our simple point-and-click system and said, "You know what this needs? Buttons. Lots of buttons for mashing." Marketing seemed to take over the company and tried to turn RuneScape into a World of Warcraft clone, and the backlash was radioactive. The game we loved was effectively gone, or so we thought. In a move that saved the community, Jagex decided to ask the players what they wanted. This was the pivotal decision that changed RuneScape forever. Someone found a dusty backup file of RuneScape sitting on a shelf, and they asked the community, "Do you want this old version of RuneScape back?" And the answer was a resounding yes. This gave us Old School RuneScape and saved RuneScape, not only because the old beloved version of the game was coming back, but because of the powers players now had. In 2013, Old School RuneScape was born, and honestly, it was a mess. The expectation from Jagex was this would be an old version of the game that would receive very little updates. So, no grand exchange, no god wars, just raw nostalgia. But after the initial dopamine hit wore off, we realized something important. Nostalgia doesn't keep you playing for 10,000 hours. So, although the player numbers were declining since the game's launch, the numbers were better than they thought. They thought this could actually be a viable game. The devs gave even more power to the players, letting them vote for what would come into RuneScape. Jagex introduced the official polling system. We voted to bring back the Grand Exchange. We voted to add the God Wars dungeon so we could finally have something to kill besides Jad. And we also saw the rise of new ways to play, like the Ironman game mode. Before 2014, playing alone was just a weird, self-imposed challenge. Now it's one of the most popular ways to play the game. Then came the skill ceiling explosion. We went from a game where the hardest boss was Jad to the release of the Inferno and Awakened bosses. We've turned this 2007 backup into something entirely new. We have raids that require actual teamwork. We have massive land expansions like Korend and Varlamore. And we even managed to do the impossible and pass a new skill, sailing. Today, Old School RuneScape isn't just a nostalgia trip. It's the dominant version of the game. So the question remains, what's next? Well, we can look forward to Deadman Mode coming on January 30th, and the Winter Summit, which will reveal the roadmap for the rest of 2026, is scheduled to take place on the 25th of January. And how about the other version of RuneScape, RuneScape 3? Well, despite all the controversy with the evolution of combat and microtransactions, the game still receives regular content updates, many of which are based on player suggestions. The decision to listen to the players didn't just save the game, it changed Jagex forever. Because as of January 19th, the microtransaction era is officially ending with the removal of Treasure Hunter in RuneScape 3. The game didn't just survive, it won. And this isn't only good for existing players who have been complaining about microtransactions for years, but my guess is it'll bring back a new wave of players either making a return to RuneScape 3 or trying it for the first time. This year marks the 25th birthday of RuneScape, so here's to another 25 more. And you're watching RuneScape Chronicles, which only uploads the most important RuneScape updates every Wednesday. We've got a few more interesting stories today, so subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified for our weekly uploads. Plus, we've got some amazing RuneScape merch for sale on rschronicles.com. We can only sell 100 of each item, and every purchase supports the channel. And like RuneScape, we're open to you guys deciding the future of merch on the store, so let us know what merch you'd like to see in the comments below. And we just got our first game update of the year, so let's talk about it. Ship combat is currently a hot topic in the community. While the rest of sailing is fine on its own, ship combat is considered expensive and can be stale. Jagex is looking for ways to improve ship combat before focusing on any other major updates to the skill. So, does this mean there's a potential sea boss in the works? In other news, Jagex silently removed a popular sailing boosting method, with players now requiring the sailing level associated with the sails they are trimming. All cosmetic Slayer rewards got moved to its own dedicated tab in the Slayer shops, and we got a bunch of smaller graphical fixes and other miscellaneous changes this week as well. A bit of a smaller update for the first one of 2026, with many more to look forward to. And with Deadman Mode coming up on January 30th, we'll be opening our channels to the public for anybody to swap GP. I'll even be helping some people swap, but just remember, do this at your own risk. You never know who will take your money. Link's Titan was solidified as rank 1 in Old School for over a decade, but he said he'd quit after getting 200 mil all, and he did just that. We haven't heard from him ever again 8 years later. And now Old School RuneScape's new rank 1 is set in stone. After 48 days of a crazy sleep-deprived race, Fast07 managed to become the first player to get 200 mil in all skills after the release of Sailing, cementing his spot as the permanent #1 player on the leaderboards, at least until another skill comes out. But something interesting started to happen on the high scores. As Fast07 got closer and closer to his goal, players started changing their names on the high scores, specifically the top 25 players. They started changing their names to iterations of the word handshake. So it seems that other top players are saying GGs to each other for the wild race. And a wild race it was. If training fully efficiently at the Barracuda Trials, it would take you 835 hours to reach 200 mil sailing experience. Sailing came out November 19th of 2025, meaning it took roughly 48 days for the Fast07 to fully max out the skill. And this means Fast07 wasn't only playing for 18 hours every day, he was playing extremely efficiently for 18 hours every day, for 48 days straight. And in the end, the hard work and dedication paid off, because he didn't only become the first person to 200 mil, he also beat second place by nearly 13 million experience. Yeah, he beat second by the amount of experience it would take to get from level 1 to 99. But we shouldn't forget about the other players on the page. Take for instance rank 25 Farmer McGee, who is just making the Sailing top page. He had to average over 13 efficient hours every day since Sailing's launch just to stay on the front page. And that was through the holiday season also, remember that. So while Fast07 secured his #1 spot, players are going to be fighting relentlessly to secure those single-digit and front page high scores placements. And now for a really weird story of a RuneScape con man. He's not just a scammer that takes your money and leaves, but he's one that made an elaborate scheme to dupe thousands of people. You may have heard of the Troutman. Over the years, players have gained fame and notoriety by taking on challenges or completing goals thought to be impossible. You've probably heard names like Link's Titan, Woox, Exact, Port Khazard, and more. But some gain their fame in a little weirder of ways. The game has existed for so long and the community is so passionate, almost every impressive thing you can think of has already been done. So if you were to cement yourself in RuneScape history, how would you do it? A player named Lucifer asked himself this question and came up with a crazy idea. What if he just ate fish? Like a lot of fish. He started just eating trout in Edgeville. And so the Troutman was born. Other players noticed somebody in Edgeville Bank taking big trout donations doing just this one thing, eating over and over again. And the end goal, 500,000 trout consumed. Players thought this was really funny, and they were quick to support the Troutman, donating gold and fish towards his goal. This was a pretty big deal, and you probably heard of him at some point. Even the official Old School RuneScape social media pages were posting about it, with Jagex moderators showing up. This was back in October of 2025 though. So what happened since then? Did he finish his goal? Is he still going? Well, it turns out that he's banned. But what happened? A screenshot started floating around of Lucifer spotted in a gambling hall, and then a Facebook post from who was believed to be Lucifer claiming he sold all of the trout and gambled it all away. After he sold all of it, he apparently had 1.1 billion gold, which he then lost gambling, of course. Shortly after this Reddit post was made, Lucifer's Old School RuneScape account was permanently banned, confirming the leaked screenshots and the allegations. Some players weren't surprised though. A lot of Redditors seemingly predicted the future a month before it actually happened. But I'm sure players have learned a valuable lesson and will never let this happen again. And to take us out, a quick shout out to Agile Tom. He just finished his Cox Chunk account and has moved on to the Theater of Blood, where he and Telecon have to take on the Theater of Blood, but only have a Mithril Scimitar. Pretty cool. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next week with another episode. See you then.